They say a change of scenery helps a tired relationship. I suppose that's why Ashley suggested the workation, a charming blend of work and vacation that sounded like a bad HR experiment but came with palm trees. So I was in. 1 week, 1 beachfront condo, and supposedly one more shot at saving whatever cracked glass version of us still remained. At first, it was perfect. Morning swims, afternoon emails, sunset walks that looked great on Instagram but felt like we were trying to remember how to hold hands without it being weird. Ashley smiled more than usual, laughed too hard at the resort bartender's jokes, and wore perfume again. Not for me, though. I'd figured that out by day 2. Still, I played along. I took conference calls from the balcony, grilled fish we bought from local markets, and tried not to notice how often she excused herself for client meetings that sounded suspiciously like giggling over a muted Zoom. I didn't press. Not because I trusted her, that trust had been limping for months, but because I needed to see it with my own eyes. Or hear it. That came later. There was one thing I'd always respected about Ashley. When she lied well. You'd think she rehearsed them in the mirror. But the cracks were starting to show, and all it took was one mistake. One slip-up. One accidental mic that stayed hot a little too long. But we're not there yet. Let's rewind just a bit. To the day before the mic, before the unraveling. When I still had hope, the dumb, loyal kind. We had just finished breakfast on the patio, and she kissed my cheek. It felt off. Not the kiss, the placement. Too far back. Like she was aiming for obligatory and not affectionate. I've got a client call in 15, she said, grabbing her laptop and slipping into the bedroom with a speed that suggested either urgency or guilt. You can guess which one it was. I stayed outside, sipping bitter coffee and staring at waves that looked a lot more stable than my marriage. I could have gone for a swim. Could have cracked open that novel I kept promising to read. But I didn't. I sat. I waited. And from inside the condo, I heard something. Not the usual muffled corporate talk. No budget meetings or deliverables. Just laughter. A man's voice. Deep. Confident. And then her voice, softer, warmer than she'd spoken to me in weeks. I didn't barge in. Not yet. See, that's where most guys mess up. Going in too early. Making a scene before the truth reveals itself. But me? I was patient. Like a hunter who knew the deer was already bleeding. I just needed the right shot. What she didn't know. Her Zoom call was about to make its way to my inbox. But that's for another part of the story. For now, just picture this. A man sitting by the ocean, sipping bad coffee, and slowly realizing that the woman he flew across the world to heal things with was already elsewhere. Not mentally. Not emotionally. Physically. Completely. And the mic hadn't even slipped yet. I don't know what's worse. Knowing your wife is cheating, or hearing it unfold in real time like some sick radio drama. All I know is, when the universe finally handed me the tape, it didn't even need to come with a bow. The moment came the next day. Same setup. Morning coffee, patio breeze, Ashley flitting around in her robe like a woman starring in a commercial for second chances. She gave me that now familiar excuse, client call, sensitive materials, need quiet, and once again retreated to the bedroom with her laptop and headphones like a secret agent. I nodded, kissed her forehead like a good husband, and pretended I was going for a swim. I didn't. I stayed. Sat at the kitchen counter with my own laptop, earbuds in but no music playing. I wanted to catch her slipping. Turns out, I didn't need to try. She gifted me the truth. 10 minutes into her call, I heard it. Loud. Clear. Unmuted. The bedroom door was closed, but her mic, sweet, wonderful, traitorous mic, was wide open. And suddenly, the sounds coming from behind that door weren't project plans or quarterly figures. It was a man's voice. Low. Familiar. Missed you already. You gonna pretend I'm your boss again? Or are we dropping the act today? Ashley laughed. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard since our 3rd anniversary. Breathless, silly, the one that used to make me feel like I was the only guy in the world. Shut up, she said, teasing. You know I've got, 5 more minutes before he starts asking questions. I guess I should have been flattered. At least I was still on her radar. There was rustling. Movement. More laughter. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'll call you tonight. He still thinks we're here to fix things. Poor guy. Poor guy. She called me poor guy. It wasn't just the betrayal that hit me in the gut. It was the casual tone. Like I was some forgettable extra in her private rom-com. Like this was just another Tuesday in her double life. I should have burst through the door, right? Should have flipped the laptop, thrown clothes in a bag, stormed out like every dramatic husband in every made-for-TV movie. But I didn't, because I wasn't looking for drama. I was looking for proof. And fate, or maybe karma with a clipboard, handed it to me on a silver flash drive. See, what Ashley also didn't know, in her hot mic clumsiness, was that her laptop had autorecord turned on. Company policy. Everything that passed through Zoom was archived in her cloud account. And lucky for me, she used the same login for everything. Later that night, when she was in the shower, humming, like a woman with no secrets, I slipped into her files. Clicked. Downloaded. Listened. And folks, that wasn't her boss on the call. That was a man named Ryan. And the only thing they were syncing was each other. Now, here's where the universe really started showing off. I wasn't the only one listening. Her company had audio compliance software, AI-driven, always listening for keywords. Like confidential, proprietary, and in this case, the phrase, "he still thinks we're here to fix things." Yeah, that flagged a notification. And suddenly, my cheating wife wasn't just unfaithful. She was unemployed. But I'll save that glorious part for later. Right now, I sat there, watching her exit the bathroom, towel in her hair, acting like nothing had happened. And I smiled. Not because I forgave her, but because I had everything I needed. The fall had started, and she didn't even see the floor rushing up to meet her. You ever watch someone get fired and not know they've been fired yet? It's like watching a dog wag its tail before the earthquake hits, all joy. No clue. That was Ashley the next morning. She was humming, making pancakes, wearing my t-shirt like she still had the right. "Big day today," she said with a wink. "Q3 kickoff. Major strategy stuff. Might run long." I stirred my coffee, nodded. "Better bring your A game then." She smiled, kissed my cheek. I almost felt bad. Almost. See, while she was off in the bedroom dialing into what she thought was a routine strategy call, I was downstairs in the lobby cafe with my headphones and watching it all go down live. Her company, a firm so uptight they probably had security badges for their houseplants, had caught wind of the hot mic incident. A compliance alert went straight to her department head, and let me tell you, that man did not disappoint. 10 minutes into the meeting, right when Ashley was in full thought leader mode, talking in acronyms like she owned the room, a voice cut through. "Ashley, can you stay on after this? HR needs a word." And just like that, boom, the tail stopped wagging. I couldn't hear what happened in the private breakout room, but I didn't need to. Because 20 minutes later, she came storming out of the condo like a missile in yoga pants, phone to her ear, voice shrill enough to shave paint off the hotel walls. "You can't be serious. That wasn't even during company time. It was a private call." "No, it's not fair. He doesn't even work for you." That he was Ryan. "Mr. Not a Zoom call. Mr. I miss you already." Apparently, it didn't matter who he was. Because the AI that flagged the call didn't care about relationship status, just policy violations. And Ashley? She just gifted her employer a recorded masterpiece of deception, unprofessional behavior, and a front-row seat to her midlife crisis. Termination, effective immediately. She came back inside, flushed, pacing, fingers shaking. "They fired me," she said, like it was some cosmic injustice. "For what?" I asked. Deadpan. "You know for what." "I don't, actually. You said it was a client call." Her eyes flashed. She was looking for something, pity maybe? Sympathy? A reason to pretend we were still on the same team? But that team had been benched long ago. That's when I stood up, walked to the bedroom, grabbed her laptop, placed it on the kitchen counter. Then I pressed play. Not the whole call, just the highlight reel. Ryan's voice. Her giggle. That fatal line. "He still thinks we're here to fix things." She didn't speak, didn't flinch, just stood there as if hoping maybe she could outstare the evidence. "You bugged me," she finally hissed. I laughed. Cold. "No, you bugged yourself. Zoom did the honors. Congratulations." She tried to spin. That's what she was good at. "I was lonely. You've been distant. You needed validation. From a guy who sounds like he sells fake watches at the mall." Now, here's the part where most stories would hit the dramatic walkout. Some suitcase dragging. Some tearful confession. But not Ashley. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She went cold. "You think you're better than me?" She snapped. "You think you're a saint because you caught me first?" "No," I said. "I think I'm lucky." "Lucky?" "Yeah. Lucky I found out now, before I wasted another decade building a life with a woman who's one dead battery away from cheating during a Teams call." That one landed. She blinked. Her mouth opened like she had something to say, something clever, something brutal, but nothing came out. She packed that night. No fight. No apologies. Just silence. And a door that closed like a period at the end of a very long, very stupid sentence. But here's the thing. She thought that was the end. Oh no. That was just intermission. Because now it was my turn. Some men get mad and scream. Some drink. Some punch drywall. Me? I open folders. You see, when a marriage starts leaking at the seams, a smart man doesn't run for towels. He starts building the lifeboat. That's what I've been doing for the last few months. Long before the mic slip, before the client calls, before Ryan's dollar store Barry White impression turned up in my living room, I knew. Not knew in the way your gut knows something's wrong. No, I recognized. A shift. A chill. The way she started doing her makeup for the gym but went without it on date night. The way she started using we less and I more. So I started documenting. Not out of paranoia. Out of preparation. And when Ashley slammed that condo door behind her, dragging a suitcase that still smelled like his cologne, I pulled out the folder. It was brown. Ordinary. The kind you'd expect to find in a dentist's office labeled 2009 receipts. Inside? Emails. Screenshots. A printed transcript of that hot mic Zoom call. Hotel bookings, 3 of them, made during her supposed off-site retreats. Bank statements showing cash withdrawals before every one of those trips. And the piece de resistance? A printed group chat between her and 3 of her friends. The sisterhood, she called them. They used to drink wine and talk about queen energy and manifesting their best selves. Turns out, they'd also been helping her schedule her work meetings with Ryan, complete with emoji recaps. One of them had the audacity to say, if Logan finds out, just say he was cold and distant. Men always fall for that one. I didn't fall for anything. I waited. I gathered. I made sure I wouldn't just win. I'd bury her. Back home, I called a lawyer. Mitch Flanders. The kind of guy who wears suspenders not for fashion but to make room for more pockets to hold your enemy's secrets. He reviewed the file with a smile like he was reading a juicy novel. She's toast, he said. You've got misconduct, reputational harm, and a clear betrayal of marital trust. She walks away with what you let her take. What if I let her take nothing? He chuckled. Then I hope you like watching fireworks. I did. And I had one more match to strike. See, Ryan wasn't just some faceless guy from a dating app. He was a contractor. On paper, he worked with Ashley's company through a third-party vendor. Which meant, lucky me, his contract had a morality clause. And because of the Zoom leak, his voice had been flagged too. I sent that recording anonymously to his employer. 3 days later, he was let go. Ashley? She tried to fight it. Of course she did. Claimed the audio was taken out of context. Claimed it was a private moment and that her rights were being violated. But turns out it's hard to play the victim when you're already recorded laughing about manipulating your husband and violating NDA policies in the same breath. HR doesn't care about your tears. They care about liability. She was done. And so was he. But that's not revenge. That's justice. Revenge came the day we met at the mediator's office. Ashley walked in dressed like she was heading to brunch. Casual blazer, full makeup, not a hint of shame on her face. She looked across the room like we were 2 professionals negotiating a merger, not a broken marriage with blood on the paperwork. Logan, she said, nodding. Ashley. The mediator started with pleasantries. I let her talk. Let her explain how she just wanted things to be fair, how we had both changed, how this wasn't anyone's fault. Then she made her request. She wanted the house, the car, spousal support. Said she'd sacrificed her prime years supporting my career. That's when I pulled out my folder. Again, set it on the table, slid it toward the mediator. Her smile faltered. What is that? She asked. Just a few highlights, I said. A little behind the scenes from your workation romance. The mediator opened it. His brows lifted. Is this? Yes, I replied. Verified. Recorded. Dated. Enjoy page 6. There's a transcript where she refers to me as the boring fallback option. Ashley's face turned red. Then white. Then that gray kind of pale where you realize you've brought a knife to a gunfight. I didn't know he recorded it, she stammered. That's illegal, right? Isn't that illegal? Zoom recorded it, I said. Automatically. Your settings. Your laptop. Your words. The mediator cleared his throat. Given what's here, we may want to pause and let counsel review before any requests are considered. Ashley stood. This is vindictive. No, I said, standing too. This is accountability. You cheated. You lied. You made a fool out of me, and you thought you'd get a cash prize for it. She shook her head. You're not who I thought you were. That makes two of us. I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't yell. Just left her standing in a room where her lies couldn't save her. Later that night, I poured a drink, sat on the porch, watched the stars, and I smiled. Because she thought she'd wrecked me. But all she really did was free me. You ever watch a person realize they're not in control anymore? It's quiet at first. The twitch of a smile that doesn't land. The breath they hold like they're still waiting for a rescue that ain't coming. Ashley had that look when we met for dinner, the last dinner. Not last as in the final supper of a couple torn by betrayal. No. Last as in final performance before I closed the curtain on her entire theater of lies. Let me explain. A week after mediation, Ashley texted me, real formal, like she was trying to sound human again. Logan, let's have dinner. Talk like adults. I don't want to end this with bad blood. I almost laughed. End it? Sweetheart, the credits already rolled. You're standing in an empty theater hoping for an encore. Still, I said yes. Not because I wanted closure. I had plans. We met at this trendy rooftop spot. She showed up dressed for sympathy, soft colors, sad eyes, blouse tucked in like it was designed to say, look at me. I'm just a woman who made a mistake. I wore black. Appropriate. The waiter brought wine. She smiled at me like we were old friends who'd weathered a storm. Not two people on opposite sides of a war she started. So she said, swirling her glass. How are you, really? Better, I said. Lighter. She laughed too quickly. That's good. I mean, I've been thinking a lot. About everything. About how we got here. I nodded. You got us here. Let's not rewrite history. She looked down. I know I hurt you. I really do. But I want us to walk away from this with dignity. No courtroom mess. No social media fallout. Social media. That was the cue. I pulled out my phone. Tapped the screen. Set it down on the table, face up, recording. What's that? She asked. A reminder. Of what? That you don't get to control the narrative anymore. Her eyes narrowed. Logan, I'm trying to meet you halfway. No, you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. But it's out. On record. And about 10,000 people already brushed their teeth with it. She blinked. Confused. That's when I dropped the hammer. You remember that group chat with your friends? The one where you called me a career cushion with a credit score. Her face went pale. I leaked it, I said. Not to tabloids. Just to your network. All those work friends you were trying to pivot into new contracts with? Yeah, they've seen the receipts. Are you serious? She whispered. I sipped my wine. Dead. She looked like she'd been slapped. Why would you do that? You mean aside from the whole cheating on me in stereo thing? It's simple. You wanted a clean slate. I gave you a mirror instead. You're ruining my reputation. I raised my eyebrows. No, you ruined it. I just emailed the evidence. And I wasn't done. I reached into my coat pocket and slid a small black envelope across the table. What's this? She asked, not touching it. Your NDA. She scoffed. What NDA? The one I drafted with my attorney. You sign it. You keep your dignity. You don't. I post the full recording. Her lips parted like she wanted to scream, but there were people around. And image meant everything to Ashley. Even when she was cornered like a fox in a burning barn. You'd blackmail me? Nope. I'm giving you a choice. Either we do this the quiet way, or I let your own voice destroy the rest of the bridges you haven't finished burning. She picked up the envelope. Read it. Her hand shook. This says I admit to professional misconduct. You did. And personal betrayal. You definitely did. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You were always the nice one. Yeah, I said, leaning in. And you mistook that for weak. We sat there in silence, the kind that doesn't breathe. She signed it. Right there, using the pen I handed her. The same pen I'd used to write the rent check for our first apartment. Funny how objects stick around longer than promises. When she handed it back, her eyes were glassy. She wasn't crying, though. Not yet. I stood, buttoned my coat. I'm not coming for more, I said. I'm not going to haunt you. But don't mistake silence for forgiveness. She looked up at me. What do I get? I tilted my head. You get to leave this restaurant without anyone knowing who you really are. That's my parting gift. She didn't move. Didn't speak. I walked out. The cold night air felt like a baptism. One step, then another, until the weight of her betrayal slipped off like a bad coat I'd finally outgrown. I got into my car. Started the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from Mitch, the lawyer. NDA received. Divorce final in 3 weeks. You're free, brother. I stared at the screen. Smiled. Free. It wasn't about punishing her. It was about freeing myself from the idea that I ever owed her my silence, my protection, my name. Ashley thought she was playing chess. Turns out, I was playing demolition. And now? She can sift through the rubble. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I disagree. Mine was served in high definition, complete with timestamps, digital signatures, and a CC to HR. 3 weeks after our dinner-turn disaster, the divorce papers came through. Final. Signed. Filed. The end of a marriage. The start of something far more satisfying. Ashley tried to vanish after that. Changed her number. Deactivated her Instagram. Took down the cutesy travel blog she'd started back when she thought workation was going to be a cute couple's hashtag and not the beginning of her public unraveling. But the thing about living a lie for too long is the truth doesn't need you to keep spreading it. It spreads itself. And now I had nothing holding me back. You remember Ryan? Mr. Miss You Already? The human cologne ad with the emotional range of a houseplant? Yeah. He made the mistake of popping back up like nothing had happened. Apparently, losing his contract after the Zoom scandal hadn't taught him to stay off the radar. I found out he was trying to start a consulting business. A little startup with a slick website, fake testimonials, and just enough buzzwords to fool the kind of investors who think integrity is optional. But he'd made a mistake. He'd used Ashley as a reference. Bad move. I forwarded the full recording, not just the clip, but the entire Zoom call to his new partner. A guy named Jeff, from what I could dig up. Jeff liked clean reputations. I could tell by the pristine Our Team page and the oddly long disclaimer at the bottom of their website. Within 48 hours, Ryan was removed. Quietly, like a leper from a gala. Ashley didn't reach out about it. But she didn't have to. I got the message a week later from one of her friends, not the inner circle, but one of those satellite women who always hovered on the edge of her chaos. The kind who knew too much but said too little. I don't know what you did, but she's unraveling. Like, full meltdown mode. If you're still poking the fire, maybe back off. I didn't respond. Because I wasn't poking the fire. I was the fire. And I wasn't done. There was one more thing. You see, before the divorce, Ashley and I had one joint investment, a modest property in a not-so-modest neighborhood. A rental, something we bought during a year where we thought passive income meant mature couple stuff. She wanted to keep it, of course, but the terms of the divorce didn't give her that option. Legally, it went to me. Emotionally, it went to war. Because here's what Ashley didn't know, that little house she'd forgotten about, the one she hadn't visited in months, still had her name on some of the utilities. And the mailbox still received a few straggling letters. Which meant, occasionally, a piece of mail would arrive for Mrs. Ashley Caldwell. One of those envelopes came from Ryan. A handwritten card. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I took a photo, front and back. Then I repackaged it in a padded envelope with a copy of the NDA she signed, a copy of the Zoom transcript, and a short note. Your lies have a paper trail. Keep walking. No return address. Just a warning with postage. And then I did the pettiest thing I've ever done in my life. I rented out the property to a group of yoga instructors. All women. Very loud. Very friendly. Very active on social media. I didn't vet them for that reason, of course. But I didn't mind when they tagged the property in every sunset rooftop session and Sunday brunch livestream. Ashley saw it. She had to. Because 2 weeks later, I got another message. From her mom. Yes. Her mom. Logan. I don't know what happened between you two. I just know she's hurting. She made mistakes, but please, let it rest. Let it rest. As if betrayal was a polite disagreement at Thanksgiving dinner. As if I hadn't been dragged across hot coals with a smile and told it was my fault for not being exciting. Still, I replied. Respectfully. I have let it rest. I'm not chasing her. I'm not speaking about her. I'm just living my life. If the truth hurts, that's because it's honest. She didn't write back. Good. Because I was done writing chapters about Ashley. Now I was writing new ones where I wasn't the ghost in the photo or the guy behind the camera. I was front and center, living, breathing, moving forward. I went back to the gym. Got a dog. Named him Echo because he never lies, never cheats, and always comes when I call. I started journaling again. Not because I wanted to wallow, but because I wanted to remember. Every moment. Every feeling. So I'd never forget how far I'd come from the night I walked out of that condo with nothing but a duffel bag and the dignity she thought I'd never reclaim. And the craziest part? I started smiling again. Not the fake kind you wear like armor. The real kind. The kind that sneaks up on you when you're walking your dog past the lake and a little kid waves. Or when your coffee tastes exactly how it should. Or when you wake up and realize nobody's lying next to you. And for the first time, that's a good thing. Ashley? I don't know where she is. I don't care. Because she was a chapter. Not the whole book. And me? I've still got pages to write. I didn't expect her to come back. Not because she wasn't bold enough, but because she had lost the script. And people like Ashley, people who live for optics and applause, they don't like showing up after the curtain's already closed. But there she was, 6 months after the divorce. On my porch, holding a bottle of wine like it was a time machine. Hey, she said, as if we were picking up groceries, not trauma. I didn't invite her in. She leaned against the doorframe. Same perfume. Same smile. The one that used to melt me. Now it just made me tired. I was driving by. Thought maybe we could talk, she offered. About. She hesitated. Everything. That word. Everything. The favorite word of people who avoid specifics because the details make them look worse. Say what you came to say, I told her, arms crossed. She looked down, then back at me. I messed up. I know that. I've had time to think. To reflect. Did you reflect before or after HR fired you? Or before or after Ryan ghosted you when he realized reputation can't be Venmo'd? Her jaw tightened. You think this is easy for me? No, I think this is sudden for you. Because I moved on, and you didn't think I would. She didn't respond. Just handed me the wine. For old times. I took it. Then opened it. Poured the contents straight into the flower bed next to the porch. For the roses, I said. She flinched. Well, no sense wasting good soil on old habits. She tried one last line. I still think about us. I don't, I said. And I shut the door. Cold? Maybe. But healing isn't polite. It's honest. And that was me, finally being honest with her and myself. The strange part about betrayal isn't how it breaks things. It's how it rearranges them. You walk through your own house and everything looks familiar, but none of it feels like home. After Ashley left, I boxed up our photos. The anniversary mugs. The his and hers beach towels we never used. But I didn't throw them away. Not right away. Instead, I labeled the box artifacts. Because that's what they were now. Relics. From a past life. One night, I went out back with the box, a fire pit, and a whiskey neat. I pulled out each photo, each memory, and gave it 5 seconds. 5 seconds to remember what it was. Then I fed it to the flames. Not out of bitterness. Out of closure. When I was done, the fire crackled like applause. I didn't keep much. Just one photo. Us, 5 years in. Smiling on a pier. Not because of the picture, because of the man I was in it. Naive. Hopeful. Solid. He deserved to be remembered. Ashley? She could live in the smoke. Echo, my dog, became my unofficial therapist. Quiet, loyal, judgment-free. He never asked why I looked tired some mornings or why I paused outside the coffee shop we used to visit together. He just walked. Waited. Stayed. Some days I talked to him like he could answer. Other days, I let the silence say what I couldn't. It was during one of our longer hikes that I realized something profound. The edge I used to feel as sharp, bitter, ready to cut, was gone. What remained was clarity. I didn't hate Ashley anymore. I didn't love her either. I just knew her. And when someone shows you who they are, you don't need revenge. You just need distance. By the time we reached the summit that day, Echo panting at my side, I looked out at the view and whispered. She lost a husband. I lost a lie. And somehow, that felt like a win. A while back, someone told me writing a letter you'll never send can help you move on. So I wrote one. Dear Ashley, you broke something. Not just between us, but in me. For a while, I thought I'd never be whole again. But I was wrong. Because it wasn't love that left me shattered. It was the illusion of it. You didn't ruin me. You revealed me. You made me find the version of myself that didn't need your approval or presence or praise. So thank you. Thank you for cheating. Thank you for lying. Thank you for freeing me from the prison I didn't know I was in. I hope Ryan was worth it. I hope the silence that follows feels heavier than the lies you told. And I hope, somewhere down the road, you remember the sound of the door closing. Not because it hurt, but because it was final. Goodbye, Logan. I sealed the letter. Then I burned it too. And as the last corner curled into ash, I smiled. not because I'd won, but because I'd walked away, whole, upright, unbroken, and absolutely done.